going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So this morning when I woke up, I had a strange feeling that inside of Raid that we didn't really have much to do. I mean, yeah, we just had the champion training event for Chris. That wasn't that big of a deal, right? We've had 2 back-to-back personal rewards CVC. It is what it is. We had Nari the Lucky Fusion. We've had different shard pool events that were pretty impactful, seems like every week. But I felt like, hey, we just finished Nari the Lucky. I'm about to summon him during CVC. I feel like we need something else. I feel like we need a new Fusion champion. And guess what? Plarium announced a new Fusion champion for us. With that said, guys, though, all that was joking. We've been super busy inside the game. If you do feel overwhelmed, remember, you don't have to go for all these Fusion champions. To be honest, other than Nari the Lucky, I've skipped the last few Fusions, not necessarily intentionally, but I don't really regret it. So if you take a break on a few of them, honestly, they're probably not going to be the end of the world. Now, granted, if it was Rhodos and Tormund, those kinds of days, then maybe you would kick yourself. But to be honest, most of these Fusions, I haven't been regretting if I don't go for them. So keep that in mind when you see these Fusion champions. The game is a game. It's meant for fun. But let's talk about this guy. And I want to talk about him on my free-to-play account because honestly, I may actually go for him on my free-to-play. The very first Fusion I go for at all on the free-to-play, there's a few reasons why. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when reading through his skills, there's only so much we can see, and tell, because the books are going to be a big difference. His multipliers are going to be a big difference. His base stats are going to be a big impact. But right off the bat, it's a Night Revs Fusion champion, which is awesome. We don't have a whole lot of amazing Night Revs. Night Revs, honestly, is probably one of the more difficult factions in Faction Wars for me to go through, because unless you have the right champions, the great champions, it's a little bit difficult of a faction. So this is really good. I do like him. And let's talk about his kit. So his basic ability is attacks one enemy 2 times, grants an extra turn if its attack kills an enemy. His A1 ability attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a sleep debuff on each enemy for 1 turn. Also, a 75% chance of placing 2 bomb debuffs on each enemy that detonate after 2 turns. His A2 ability attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit instantly detonates bombs on the target. The second hit will ignore all unkillable buffs on that target. Very, very nice. I'm going to talk about some synergies, kind of like ideas I have about him once we go through his kit. His passive ability, when attacked, has a 30% chance of placing a bomb debuff on the attacker that detonates after 2 turns, occurs once per hit, instantly detonates all bomb debuffs on all enemies whenever this champion is killed. His passive, or his aura, is ally attack in all battles by 25%. So this guy actually seems like a pretty solid fusion. The thing I think is very interesting about him, the very first thing right off the bat, is, well, first off, we got to see his books. We got to see what it requires there. Maybe some cooldown reductions across the board. It's definitely going to be some percentage chance to land, or at least I hope there is, because 75% chance of placing bombs isn't that good. I mean, because you want more consistency if you're going to bring him into the arena, wherever it may be. So getting that to 100% will probably be there. So keep in mind, if you're going to do it, maybe save some books for that. But we have no clue what it's going to require yet. Now, his A2 ability to me seems pretty interesting. Seems like the most interesting part of his kit, specifically for arena, because his first hit is going to detonate all the bombs, and his second hit is going to ignore unkillable. Basically, you could detonate all the bombs and then kill people through swift parry. It doesn't matter what his damage is, as long as the bombs basically kill the person. His 1 extra hit is going to do more than 1 damage that the swift parry stopped, right? So this ability seems very interesting. I think his overall kit is very solid, and it could be very, very good. This is a champion, the first champion who I'm actually going to try to go for on my free-to-play account, I think, because I don't have a lot of bomb champions. There's not a lot of bomb champions throughout the game. Plarium's trying to get bombs to be in the game more and more. I think it could possibly be okay on Hydra. I haven't seen a bomb team actually be like meta or anything, but I'm interested in it. So I'm probably going to go for him on free to play. Definitely going to go for him on my main account. One of the fusions who I'm more interested in going for in a while, to be honest. I think he's going to be very solid. If I can get him, I'm definitely going to try to get him. And I think he's going to be one of the few who actually get used, if nothing else, for Night Revs Faction Wars, because I don't have a ton of amazing damage dealers there, and the bombs could do pretty well. Now, granted, you do have the 2 turns on the bombs, but the sleep is very good, assuming he's like maybe the last to go or in a correct order of your team, so that when he places a sleep, the enemy actually skips the turn. If it was anything other than sleep, it'd probably be too overpowered, but sleep obviously has a huge downside of any damage wakes them up. So if you bring in AoE damage dealers like Kymar, who can literally do nothing else except for AoE damage or a reset, then you may be in a little bit of a rough spot if he sleeps everybody and then Kymar wakes everybody up, basically just ruins the sleep completely. Now, the next thing we have announced today is some balance changes coming up. And I'm going to be completely honest, these balance changes kind of seem weird. They seem great. I definitely like them, but they seem a little bit weird. And I'll show you guys why. I'll tell you guys why. At least my opinions, and let me know what you think down below as well. So we have The first one is going to be, let's actually get this organized so you guys can see it. We have Ethos and his outburst ability. Ethos, oh my goodness, guys, I can't manage this thing. How does it work? I'm trying to take up the whole screen with this, but I guess this is what we have to do. So let me move myself out of the way a little bit. So Ethos, outburst, attacks all enemies 3 times, places a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Doesn't really seem that impactful, that crazy, but Ethos is already a crazy good champion, right? There's some things they could do to make him even better, but I've never really known him to be a problem in the game. Now, in Nithwi, Tormenting Whispers, what ability is that? I think that's his big AoE hit. I hope it is. I haven't actually checked, so let's go ahead here and check it. Tormenting Whispers right here, perfect. So Nithwi is a champion who, he's pretty good. The block revive is really good on everybody. Anytime he kills somebody, absolutely amazing. But it kind of seemed lackluster as far as the actual damage dealt. So the damage increase, I really like that. May actually get him to see some use in my teams. I've used him a little bit before, but I just have other better nuking options, even though Nithwi does block revive. But now that this increase comes out, I may actually use him. I think he's deserving of the buff. Now, Shiromani, this is a weird one. So Ethos and Shiromani are both kind of strange because Shiromani is an amazing champion as it is. Like, I've never had an issue with Shiromani whatsoever. I don't really know why she got this buff, to be honest. But my free-to-play account is jumping with joy because I now have 2 Shiromani's on the free-to-play. So Shiromani got buffed, Yakarl got buffed. It's 2 of my 4 legendaries on my free-to-play account, which is absolutely crazy because, actually no, it's 3 because I have 2 Shiromani's, more or less. Actually, I forget how many legendaries, but either way, doesn't matter. Maybe buff Simple and Hawkhorn, I'll be happy go lucky. But her A1 attacks 3 times at random, has a 25% chance of placing freeze. So she used to have a, let's go up here and find her real quick. So 25% is what it's going to be buffed up to. She currently is sitting at a 15%. So it's getting an extra 10% chance to freeze. Why does she need that? She doesn't need that. Her A2 ability, cooldown decreased from 5 turns to 4 turns. So her A2 ability is that pretty good heal. Her A2 heals one ally by 50% and all others by 20% of their max HP. Places a 15% continuous heal buff on 2 turns on targets with full HP. Sorry, I had a little hard time reading that. But now it's going to be a 3-turn cooldown when booked. That is absolutely crazy. She's going to be such a good support champion. She already was. And now she's going to be even better. And then her Ice Storm ability. Cooldown decreased from 6 turns to 5 and 4 when booked. So 4-turn cooldown on an ability that has a 100% chance to freeze everybody. And fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each enemy attacked. This was already a great ability. I'm not exactly sure why they're buffing this champion. I think there's a lot of champions who probably deserve the buffs a little bit more. But don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not complaining. I love to see the balance changes, but it just seems a little bit strange when 2 of the 3 champions in the balance changes are, quite honestly, in what I think is a pretty good spot for majority of players. I mean, Ethos is, I feel like, amazing for what he does. I don't have him, so I can't actually speak on that too much. Yeah, obviously you can make these champions even better, but I don't really think these 2 champions are in a bad spot. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm definitely interested, but I mean, check this guy out, okay? Jingwan. You pull this guy and you're like, yo, I want a refund. I want to send him back, player him, give him a Void Shard. I'd rather have a Cold Heart than this guy. Buff him. I've seen a few accounts with them, and it's like just an eyesore in their account, more or less. Because right now he doesn't really have much use, but he does have some sick tattoos. I like that. I've actually never even noticed that. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, enough about Jingwan's tattoos and his little nipple poking through. But either way, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.